Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back. Today's video is to talk about the Hard Light nerf, how much it really got nerfed and how it compares to other 600s. Is it still up there at the top with Suros? Did Suros take that spot away? What about the other legendary options? I'm gonna say now that Hard Light is gutted. Hard Light is a shell of what it once was, and we just witnessed the shortest PvP meta in the history of Destiny. Really think about that, it's crazy. So I'm gonna go through these changes, but I'm not gonna call Hard Light bad. I'm never gonna do that simply because it's a 600 RPM auto rifle. The .7 TTK stands out, and that is never bad, that's never trash. I'm not gonna do it. It's still a great weapon. However, it did get changed. So let's talk about the meta, what rised, what fell. Looking at the new text, it says that rounds fired from this weapon have reduced damage fall off, over-penetrate targets, and ricochet off of hard surfaces. Projectile damage increases after bounce. A couple things to remember about Hard Light. It had no damage drop off, but it did have accuracy starting points where it started being inaccurate. There was a certain point that Hard Light started to have those accuracy issues, and accuracy issues in the sense that at about 33 meters, 35 meters, some shots would miss that you were clearly aiming at. It wasn't that sticky, and past 40 meters, that was more severe. Now, at long distances, you could land big, clean damage, but you had the accuracy issues. You'd be aiming for the head, sometimes it would hit the body, and vice versa. It wasn't reaching that .7 TTK that these 600s have. The changes, which I talked about briefly yesterday, there were 3 subject lines, and the video was about 2.5 minutes long. Sorry to disappoint. That one didn't reach that 10-minute mark, because honestly, there's no reason to. There were 3 lines, and there was nothing to test in front of us. But now, this one's probably going to be longer, this video. With hotfix 2.8.1.1, Hard Light's damage fall off floors at 0.7x, 0.5 is the AR class standard. This translates to Hard Light does indeed have damage drop off now, and I want to stress that range isn't everything. There are more things that affect range too. However, when a main talking point of a weapon is that it has no damage fall off with its range, you have to explore that. Hard Light starts getting damage fall off at around 24.5 meters. And knowing what they changed that damage floor to, we can look at other weapons and see the difference, how it's working in game. First, we have 26 damage that these 600s do, then it drops to 25 damage. And that's going to continue having fall off the further you step back. Now, the engagement distance I really want to focus on is 24 meters to 30 meters because more or less that's the average effective engagement distance for a 600 RPM auto rifle. And that's strikingly similar to all hand cannons. As you step back with Hard Light, you see 24 damage per critical at 30 meters. This now is starting to get into, you need to land all 8 criticals to land that .7 TTK. You need to be on the money 100% accurate, because past 30 meters into that 32, that .7 is not achievable. So we can hard stop. This is where you start getting those accuracy issues from before, but now you're doing less damage. So shots can miss, you're doing less damage. It's now more in line with all the other auto rifles. Again, body shots can turn into headshots, headshots can turn into body shots, and so on. But let's flip it and look at the 24 meter starting point and then 30 meters doing 24 damage. That's where we're at right now. This alone brings up a weapon like Monte Carlo. And here's something really cool to look at because Monte Carlo has a 55 range stat and a 1.5 times zoom factor. Hard Light has a 44 range stat but a 1.6 times zoom factor. In game, as far as distance, they match right up because Monte Carlo starts getting damage drop off right at that 24.5 meter mark too. It's basically like they're the same. Even though it has 11 more range than Hard Light has a little bit better zoom factor, so it kind of evens out. We can see those 2 stats and how they're working. But Hard Light is keeping a higher floor than the other ARs, so at the end of a floor, it's always going to do a certain damage number. So Hard Light floors and is always going to do 18 damage no matter the distance. The other ARs are going to floor at 13. But obviously, we're going to agree, you're not going to get anything done at this range. It's within the engagement distance range, that 25, 24, up to 30, 31. Of course, you can duel a little bit past that, and Hard Light excelled previously at dueling past that a little bit. Not anymore. Back to Monte Carlo, it's criminally underrated. It's 600 RPM, it has high caliber rounds, it has the Markov chain, which is similar to Swashbuckler, you get melee energy. In game here, Monte Carlo is very close to Hard Light. Hard Light has a tad bit more range, but not infinitely more range, if that makes sense. When you keep in mind that 24 to 30 meter standard average engagement distance, because I've used Hard Light with this nerf, and the distances that it more than held its own at previously will get bullied by something like a pulse rifle. Because at that 35 meter point, Hard Light is now doing less damage and it's having the accuracy issues. So a pulse isn't going to have that. Something like a Randy's throwing knife isn't going to have that. But what's even more interesting is when we start talking about Suros regime, because Suros, to compensate for spinning up and glass half full, Suros does 24 damage. And with how the weapon works is it spins up, when it hits glass half full, the 24s turn into 26s, and 26 is the regular 600 RPM damage number. So Suros hits 24 damage up to 28 meters. Hard Light is now doing 24 damage at that 30-31 meter mark. They're very close. So in this range now, they're both doing around the same damage number, but Suros is spinning up. Suros is getting back to that 26 per crit. And then Suros is gonna start having fall off. Suros got way better in all around play. Because at the end of where Suros would start having issues versus a Hard Light, it's now on the same page and then does better than Hard Light. I made a video not too long ago talking about Suros versus Hard Light, and I was Team Suros then, and it's no question now to me at least, you're gonna start seeing Suros regime in your games. Like pound for pound in a pure 1v1 duel, Suros has a lot more going for it. However, Hard Light still does ride that wave of consistency. It has 100 stability with the catalyst. It has 100 aim assist. It's a stat monster. And if you want to use Hard Light, it's still gonna do well. But now it's definitely no longer on the level that it once was. I'm not even sure it's even in the same conversation as Suros anymore. I wanna know what you guys think about that. As far as range, then we start getting into things like Gnawing Hunger, Arc Logic, Summoner, Galliard. Literally all of them are monsters. Some of them can get scopes, like some of the Suros ones. They can have their fall off distance kind of start at 33 meters or so because of mid-zoom scopes. Then as a legendary, they can have some damage dealing perks like Kill Clip and so on. Then talking about Summoner real quick, and we're still on range. It starts at about 24-25 meters on a very low range roll, about 27-28 on the higher end of a range stat. Summoner itself is probably going to replace most Hard Light Revoker loadouts. It should translate right into Revoker Summoner in something like Trials. Some people are gonna have their Galliards, some people are gonna have their Arc Logics or their Gnawing Hungers, but Summoner has those things about it. It's a laser, so a lot of players are gonna use it. But with how ranged worked before this nerf and how it's currently working now, it does shift the entire class of 600s. It's big. All of them got better because Hard Light can't get those max damage tags at a further distance. Range isn't everything, but that was really the big thing going for Hard Light when it comes to 1v1 duels in an average engagement. They felt very confident you can't be any more. Moving on, there's a note that they said that they removed a hidden recoil adjustment that made the weapon more stable than intended. And from what I tested, it's just that, it's hidden. Now, I could try to find something in a recoil pattern, but ultimately the test is invalid because I could blame it on pattern, on grouping, I could blame it on recoil direction. It looks just that, it looks hidden. It still kind of feels about the same. The next thing is gonna be the Ricocheted Damage. They split PvE and PvP damage. It still does 2 times damage in PvE, but in PvP, it's now 1.35x. It was literally doing double damage when you bounced and ricocheted into a target, but with how you need to look at it now, basically, and I say basically, it's now doing kill clip damage. It does 16 to the body. On a ricochet bounce, it does 21. It's about 31% more damage. It's not the pure melt machine that it once was, but that's a good thing. It's now at enough damage that you're able to get out if you need to. Because before, if they were landing headshots on you, you would see that you're taking damage and then you would just die almost instantly if they were hitting headshots. Even body shots, it really shredded you down. Because when you take the full body of work pre-patch, there were a couple of key elements. Before, players felt really comfortable with Hard Light at most distances, even with the accuracy issues, because if you nailed 4 headshots doing 26 apiece, it's pretty much gonna have someone's health. Cut it right in half. And that would back them off. It would shred them and they would kind of stop their push, but now at a distance, it's gonna tickle them a little bit. And for me, I'm no longer gonna think twice about challenging a Hard Light user. And even while I was using a Hard Light, I'm thinking twice. I'm already having to. Because I've gotten shredded from other ARs in that gray area, that 33 to 40 meter range. That's where inaccuracy is happening. That's where damage fall off is happening. And I definitely get dropped by something like a pulse rifle. Because that nerf to Hard Light range brought the rules back to the auto rifle class. And things like a pulse rifle got better because of that. Something like Randy's throwing knife got better because of that. And a pulse rifle in general, you can beat the 600s, you can beat Suros as long as you keep that engagement distance at 30 meters and longer. But I want to start wrapping things up here. Again, Hard Light is still lethal. Let's get that right. A 0.7 TTK, you can still duel in that average engagement distance. It still has armor piercing rounds. You can still do more damage off of a ricochet. it has some things going for it. And as far as your legendary and other 600 exotics, all of them are extremely lethal. They're all elite. It's just now a matter of preference. On legendaries, it's about the role. The summoner has emerged as one of my favorites. No matter if it has Zen Moment, moving target, dynamic sway, doesn't matter. It's a laser and it duels well. A Galliard with kill clip is still lethal. A Galliard can have a mid-zoom scope to get, up to that 33, 35 meter range. You're gonna start seeing other ARs, but less hard light. There's gonna be more Suros in the exotic slot. It's gonna really come down to preference. And again, something like Monte Carlo got a lot better. Just don't forget about Monte Carlo. I wouldn't discount hard light simply because of the archetype that it's in and the things that you can still do with it. It's still very good, but nowhere near what it once was. I plan to stream this weekend. I just put in my partnership application. Wish me luck with that, and thank you to all of you that come and hang out. We've had some great conversations. We've had a lot of fun. And to the channel, if you're new here, remember to hit the sub button. And if you are, thank you so much for your continued support. You're an MVP. What do you think about hard light now with its nerf? From what I see, it literally brought in line the entire 600 RPM class of auto rifle. They're all very good because of their TTK. And this is one huge outlier that was brought in line, and that being more range and that huge damage off of the bounces. And those reasons why you would use it have been severely reduced. I want to know, is it still going to be a part of your loadout? What do you think about the other 600s compared to hard light? Let's talk about it down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.